being Attorney General is an impossible job because you wear two hats. On the one hand, you're a cabinet member. You're supposed to be loyal to your president. On the other hand, you're the lead chief law enforcement officer of the country, and you're supposed to not be loyal to your president. You're supposed to be loyal only to the rule of law. I think Merrick Garland will do a very good job trying to balance those often conflicting perspectives.
That was Harvard Law Professor Emeritus Alan Dershowitz talking about Judge Merrick Garland. You may remember Garland was nominated to the U.S. Supreme Court by President Obama back in 2016, but the Senate refused to consider his nomination because of D.C. politics. Now the judge is being tapped by President Biden to lead our Department of Justice. Julie Grant has the story.
The world saw a gracious acceptance speech from Judge Merrick Garland on March 16, 2016. Then President Barack Obama nominated him to succeed Associate Justice Antonin Scalia on the U.S. Supreme Court.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is the greatest honor of my life, other than Lynn agreeing to marry me 28 years ago. It's also the greatest gift I've ever received, except, and there's another caveat, the birth of our daughters, Jessie and Becky.
But the world never saw Judge Garland's nomination put to a vote on the Senate floor. That was because the then Republican-controlled Senate refused, citing the fact that 2016 was an election year and offering the reasoning that the newly elected president should nominate the new justice.
The American people should have a say in the court's direction. It is the president's constitutional right to nominate a Supreme Court justice, and it is the Senate's constitutional right to act as a check on a president and withhold its consent.
Nearly 8 months passed with Judge Garland's nomination hanging in the balance. Shortly after President Donald Trump was elected, he nominated then-Judge Neil Gorsuch to fill the vacancy on the High Court. Merrick Garland remained a federal judge in the D.C. Circuit, a position he was appointed to in 1997, and where he also served as chief judge from 2013 to 2020.
He's one of the very best judges and a centrist judge. He leaned right, leaned left, depending on the case. He was tough on criminal justice cases. He was more liberal on some other kinds of cases. He's somebody who I think really calls them as he sees them.
Harvard Law Professor Emeritus Alan Dershowitz got to know Judge Garland mostly from his work on the D.C. Circuit. But Garland was also a Harvard Law student long before that, graduating magna cum laude in 1977. After law school, Garland served as a law clerk on the Second Circuit and on the U.S. Supreme Court to Justice William Brennan. He went on to serve as special assistant to the Attorney General, to do private practice, to serve as an assistant U.S. attorney, and to hold 2 high-ranking positions in the Attorney General's office. Fast forward to 2021, where we'll soon see a homecoming of sorts for the judge.
For Attorney General of the United States, I nominate a man of impeccable integrity, Judge Merrick Garland, one of the most respected jurists of our time, brilliant yet humble, distinguished yet modest, full of character and decency.
Thank you, President-elect Biden, Vice President-elect Harris, for asking me to serve as the Attorney General of the United States.
Years ago, Garland supervised the prosecutions of 2 historic cases, the Oklahoma City bombing and the Unabomber.
Entering the Department of Justice will be a kind of homecoming for me. My very first job after serving as a judicial law clerk was to work as a special assistant to then Attorney General Ben Civiletti.
The distinguished judge and experienced prosecutor is also a loving family man.
Thanks always to my wife, children, sisters, late parents, without whose unstinting support I would not be standing here today. Thanks also to my grandparents, whose decision to undertake the difficult journey to America made all things possible for my family.
Merrick Garland is at bottom a very decent person. He will perform extraordinarily fairly, as he has as a judge, in his role as Attorney General.
Professor Dershowitz notes the symbolic importance of Garland's Attorney General nomination. because it gives him an opportunity he was denied before, and that is confirmation by the Senate.
And there's no date set yet for Merrick Garland's confirmation hearings, but let's bring in Julie Grant now to talk more. Let's first talk about the big thing, right? When he was nominated to the Supreme Court, but was the victim of D.C. politics and ended up no vote on all of that. Had to be really disappointing.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, can you imagine? I mean, he's telling the world this is the greatest honor of my life. And then to never get that opportunity. He never had the chance to go before the Senate Judiciary Committee, not because he wasn't qualified. His credentials couldn't be more impressive. I mean, when you hear everything said about you, hear such wonderful things said about him, about his even-handedness, his thoughtfulness. He is undoubtedly one of the sharpest legal minds in America. But because of politics, he never got the chance. And many people found that to be very unfair because the justices on the U.S. Supreme Court, they are above politics. Their job is to adhere to the rule of law. That's why they're appointed for life, and they don't have to concern themselves with running for re-election and getting together their campaign every so many years. And I spoke to Professor Alan Dershowitz about this situation, and he feels that not only was Merrick Garland robbed of that seat on the U.S. Supreme Court, but the American public was robbed as well. Let's take a listen. Do you think the American people were robbed when senators chose not to bring his nomination to a vote?
Absolutely. I think we were all robbed. And then the Republicans applied a double standard. They allowed a nomination to go through just weeks before the election, when they refused to allow a nomination to go through many months before the election. It was a double standard. It was unjustifiable. But in the end, Merrick Garland, I think, will serve the country with great distinction. So having been robbed of a Supreme Court justice, we have been given the gift of an attorney general who I think will do a very good job.
Professor Dershowitz told me he has all the confidence in the world that Merrick Garland will really be able to bring our country together in this great time of need. That's what Merrick Garland's been known for, his ability to bring about consensus. And something that Professor Dershowitz said, that really he has all the confidence in the world that he'll be able to restore the rule of law as well in America, because he has had a long commitment to public service. This is what he knows, and he's the kind of guy who's done everything throughout his career to put his country first. And he came from very, very humble beginnings, Vinny, and you can see in his speeches just how humble he is. I'll tell you a little known fact about him. Since 1998, he has volunteered as an elementary school tutor in northeastern D.C. So not only has he taught at Harvard Law, but he's also volunteering to tutor elementary school students. Quite a guy.
Absolutely. Well, do we have any information on when a date will be set for his confirmation hearing?
That's a great question. So while there's no exact date yet, we are hearing from the committee chair, who is Senator Dick Durbin, that a date could be announced this week. It is customary for about 28 days to pass from the time of the presidential nomination to the time of a hearing. And there are some reports swirling that Senator Durbin may ask his Republican colleagues if that typical time frame could possibly be waived in Merrick Garland's case. So in addition to the impeachment trial, we know senators have also been battling over a rules package, but we do know that the panel has his questionnaire and some other materials in hand. So we can expect this to be a very contentious hearing whenever it does happen. There have also been some reports that there will be some questions about Hunter Biden and the federal probe of some tax affairs. So we're going to keep our eye on it. Vinny, can't wait to see this. And who knows, he could wind up on the Supreme Court. Let's just say he is confirmed as Attorney General and there's a vacancy. He may become Justice Garland after all.
You never know. Julie Grant, thank you so much.
Thank you, Vinny.